I hope this will give us a link as a transition to the next, to the second part of our conversation. We've seen Pascal he was not in our initial list of speakers, but it's a good connection to now invite Pascal, continuing our conversation we have started at the first part of our discussion, where I invite Pascal to tell us more about your organization, the kind of work you do, some of which was already mentioned in the video. But I know one of the areas in which you're working is related to access to education and ICTs in the context of in displacement settings. While you do that, I also would like to encourage you to focus on the key message we have been emphasizing, which is the recurring theme of our meeting today: the importance of access to resources, direct, increased quality funding to RLOs, and the kind of improvement you would like to see happening in the relationship between RLOs and allies and partners of diverse nature. So, Pascal, we are more than happy to hear your perspective on this. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. It feels good to be introduced as a refugee leader from Uganda, from both countries, Uganda and Kenya. When Daniel started, he was like, he's also from Uganda and Kenya. I am from Kakuma refugee camp, that is in Kenya. And I am the founder of Action pour le Progrès, which is a community-based organization that we started in the year 2020 when COVID was hitting a lot. We saw that humanitarian organizations that have been providing assistance are now living, everybody's running for their lives. Now who are we leaving the camp to? Who are we leaving our own refugees to? So we felt like there was a need of starting that organization, at least to be there, provide information, also do some kind of resourcing for people to have support during that harsh period. And after that, we were lucky enough to focus on social and emotional learning for kids who are in the preschool. And we were lucky to be connected by Cohea, and we got funded to do the program for 1 year. And within that period, we realized the great need of establishing a pre-primary school to have that strong foundation for our kids. And that now being one pillar, which is education already within the organization. And the second pillar within education, we have empowerment. And within the empowerment, it's now when we do computer and phone repair. The whole purpose is to have the adult to deal with faulty phones, to deal with faulty computers. And with that, we've been able to establish connections in terms of gigs. You have an organization, we come to you. If you have a faulty computer, I bring the learners, we do the work, they get something small, and that is instilling the spirit of searching for a job. Apart from the education pillar, we also have collaborative research, as you see. We closely work with Carleton University under the LAND project, Local Engagement Research, Refugee Research Network. We do collaborative research. We don't need the Wazungu. We speak about Wazungu, we speak about black people to come from Canada and do the research in Kakuma. Yet we can do it, and we can have our people get a living. We also have a component of livelihood, solar powered freezer. We don't have electricity in Kakuma, so when you come, just be prepared, we don't have electricity. What we do now with our business owners, we just try to bridge the gap and bring solar powered freezers so that they can have at least a good storage and boost their business. The last one now we are currently working on is a community network. We try to imagine the cost of making a direct call from Congo to DRC, from Kakuma to South Sudan. It is costly. But if people have access to internet, they can use the social media platforms at a lower cost, and then they can keep in touch with their own. The whole mission of the organization is to uplift the status of our own refugees through various initiatives, as I have listed them. And in terms of in terms of kind of cooperations that has worked for us. And as you've seen, and I feel the pain of not having Amin and Delin, the three organizations. We have done that strategic alliance because the three organizations are funded by Cohere, and that gave us a space as refugee-led organizations to form an alliance. And we came up with this video showcasing the other work of our own refugee leaders in the camp. And within the alliance, we also connected with our own refugee-led network in Kenya called RELON, and also the ILO, part of it, supported our first conference that came out of this alliance we've done with Delin, with Amin, and we've had that way of advocating so that more resources can come to refugees-led organizations, more policies that are very favorable can also be there for us to operate. And we have also seen development. We've seen a kind of a blue building. It is through the partnership and also through the funding we got from Cohere. Now we have the skills to teach the kids, but where do we get the infrastructure? It is through the funding. And now Cohere came in and they gave us money, and that is how the experience of our cooperation has brought us into the development of the infrastructure. But also in terms of research, we have had that kind of sharing the expertise, and that also comes with benefit of capacity sharing. So we share our own capacity, they share their own capacity, and we get a production of a good research that also comes in with policy recommendations. And also based on key learnings, like Daniel said, I think it's all about how do we network, how do we get connected. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be biased, not because it's an event organized by Cohere, but it's because they're doing it. You know, they try to make sure that you network, and in networking, you get people who can support what you are doing. And there's also that aspect of advocacy, and in the advocacy part, that is what we've done with our colleagues. RELON Kenya, ILO, Solidarity Initiative for Refugees, and Hands for Humanity. We had that first ever conference in Kakuma, because for us, GRF is a good event, but NGOs who are working in Kakuma, they're not here. So much of what we are discussing in the GRF is not going to have enough impact. We felt like it's good to have that conversation with those organizations on the ground, and that's how the three of us, Amin from Humanity, Hands, Delin from Solidarity Initiative, decided to have that conference to start engaging those organizations on the ground and that advocacy. And I remember Eddie Edmond is here. He came when we were like having a brainstorming on the conference, and we told them nobody's changing our idea, and nobody's just, if you have money, just give us money. But this is our idea, and this is how we're going to do it. And he really respected that. He really respected that, and he was ready to support in whichever way he can. So, and we were able to do that, to start engaging those organizations on the ground. Because if you cannot give refugee-led organizations money to lead their projects, to lead their initiatives, then you are not shifting power. Because if I don't have money, you still have the power. But if you give me money to do my show, to do the initiatives that I want to do, then you are shifting power. And with that, maybe I can also still make recommendation for, I don't know, you might be a potential donor sitting here, and I don't know. But the most way that for us we feel like you can shift power, fund us. And if you are not able to fund us, because I've seen some other donors they don't know the way to reach out and donate. We have intermediaries like, sorry for pointing. I mean, Cohere, they are doing it well. We have also RELON, also coming on board. So with that intermediary, and them being in a position to receive funds from Global North, we can still access it, and we can still do a good job. So that is what I can say, and what has not worked for us. Sometimes we find Adon is not flexible, and we don't need that, because we know our context, we understand our context, we need flexibility in the money you give, we need flexibility in the way we communicate. So thank you, Daniel. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. That was very powerful and something which we need in an occasion like this. I think in a nice way, you were telling us what we need is money,
Yeah.
the master key which opens every door. With that, I will move now to our next speaker, John. Along the same questions, of course, I would expect you to tell us more about the organization, the kind of work you are doing. I know you are doing some excellent work in climate change related activities, in peace building, as related to displaced communities. Tell us something about that. And of course, I also want you to reflect, based on your key learnings, what are the areas where you'd like to see improvement? What is the future of our conversation? What is the perspective on that? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to have all of you here, and I want to open by saying that as an advisory board to UNHCR on meaningful refugee participation, I think we're ashamed that my own colleague Stephen is not around. We are in that group to support and engage and share ideas. But we have a long way to go in meaningful participation. Just want to make that very clear, because we can't be advising UNHCR and then we're having cases of people missing. I just want to make that very, very clear and open. My name is John Jag, as mentioned. I work for Youth Social Advocacy Team as the Executive Director. YSAD is a refugee-led organization. We are now a regional refugee-led organization working in Uganda and in South Sudan. We started as a very small advocacy group 7 years ago. We came to Rhino Camp from high school, and then I was elected as a refugee leader in one of the villages in Rhino. And then we went for a football game in Adjumani. So Adjumani has more Dinka, and I was from Nuer, and we're leading a team mix up to go do exchange program. And there, a very small statement sparked one of the refugee leaders. We scored 2 goals, the team that came from Rhino, and then the guy said, "Oh, now this Riek Machar are coming to score to beat us from our home." So we were all puzzled, we didn't know what was he meaning. So yet, it was just a hateful statement inciting the people to say, these guys, since they're from a camp with many Nuer who are from the side of the rebel leader in South Sudan, and then he's from the Dinka side, forgetting that we are all refugees in that moment. We all ran away from the situation. But he forgot and he started inciting. The match ended prematurely, and I was left in the field with another Danish Refugee Council staff. We were left in the pitch, and everyone ran, jump in the cars and go. But they remembered that they forgot 2 people. So the car came back and got us in the pitch, and we went. I can tell you from that very moment, I was so disappointed, so annoyed, and I just transformed that anger into an advocacy to say, no, we ran away from this problem. We can't again continue that mindset. Even when we are in Uganda, we've all come. If a Dinka and a Nuer ran, which means they are not part of that problem. Both of them are affected. How on earth you bring that same narrative to a refugee settlement? And that is how we initiated Youth Social Advocacy Team to build peace among ourselves first as the refugees and with our hosting communities around. As we go along, we started adding on education, because we realized we train young people as peace ambassadors. So far now we have over 200 refugee peace ambassadors. But then the question is, what next? After you train, okay, we've done this, so what? Are we going to be peace ambassadors for good, to bring peace across Africa, or what? The question of education came in. And then we added higher education, because we saw primary education, super. There was Window International, Save the Children. But the moment you finish primary 7, you're on your own. The UN system doesn't support them. Very little scholarship. So then we started to advocate for education, because then it can transform. And South Sudan now is only 27% literacy rate. It's a problem, right? It means you can manipulate everyone and they will accept. And then as we progress on, people start saying, okay, you've trained us now, we are also going to school, but what to eat now? And then we are in the element of food security and livelihood. As I come here right now, I'm happy to report that we work with World Food Program for the last 3 years in distributing food and cash for our fellow refugees. Very tough question. How can a refugee have another refugee? Will you distribute food to other clusters where you are not from? Tough questions, right? Trust issues. But we managed. And in 2020, if you check records, we were the runner-up for Eastern Horn of Africa under UNHCR NGO Innovation Award. And we were the second, finally, as the refugee-led organization. So that can showcase the power that we have in the community. We work with some donors now that we build trust over time. USAID was one of them. Took us 4 good months to finish the due diligence, you know it very well, to register in the system for award management. Everyone will meet us and say, you will not manage, just be our cook. But we say, no, if we are given the right support, technical support, we will manage. And we managed. In 2021, we managed for Uganda, and then we transferred to South Sudan. Now we are working there. We have donors like Global Affairs Canada, who in 2020 made a very good example of progressive refugee engagement, that without a refugee-led organization, they will not take your expression of interest. I don't know how many of you work with INGOs here. They started looking for us. Which refugee-led can we work with? Who do you know? So it's only when there is a condition above that now you know us. When there's no condition above, we don't have capacity. But when there's a condition above, well, we can take them just to pass the donor due diligence, right? So that's something we need to reflect on as we talk about meaningful refugees. What is the willingness of each one of us in this room to take the refugee along? I think for me that would be a good ask from each one of you, because will you wait for somebody to give you a condition for you to remember who we are, or are you willing to just take the meaningful refugee participation as an initiative that you're willing, as an individual, as a government person, as an INGO, or just a citizen that want to advocate and join the meaningful refugee participation? You don't have to belong to an organization to push for us, right? Do you? No. Exactly. So that's what I would say. In terms of what's working, we want to appreciate and acknowledge. Friends have talked about COHEA. I met COHEA recently before coming, and believe me or not, a small conversation. Now I see there's a group here. That's exactly what we want. You already have the interest, and we can move in. So in terms of coordination, we see that there's a good involvement of some refugee-led organizations and refugee leaders in sector working groups, although we're just numbers, just to report to your donors. 3 of them were in attendance. And then what's working well is also collaboration. We see local to local collaboration. Example of what here's Pascal just mentioned. We're working together. So far now we have, for example, in Uganda, YSAD and AYAN, African Youth Action Network. Simon is there in the room. We work together, we join, we apply to MasterCard Foundation, and we were supported as 2 local. And we learn a lot. They have a very nice M&E who is good in documentation. We have some good people who can manage programs, and we were learning from each other with limited support. Same thing with ICANN South Sudan. We are hosting ICANN South Sudan right now in Juba. When they got support from COHEA, they say, where can we go? I say, let us start with what we have from where we are. We don't have to say you must tell COHEA to give you money. COHEA has already moved a step to give you something. What is our contribution as a fellow refugee-led organization? That step food first. And we host them right now. It's a year already. So these are also some of the examples of collaboration that we want you to imagine. Something is moving, okay? Resource sharing. In Uganda, we have an organization called C10, which is a direct partner of UNHCR, and they're getting cars, they're getting bicycles and motorcycles. We have a partner in Mbepi called the Yeta, who is sharing an office space with Oxfam. These are good initiatives that we need to amplify. It's not just the money, as they mentioned. We need the money for sure, but also sometimes we may get money somewhere that does not cover all our needs. It's a collective effort. Representation. Well, as I already said before, it's a shame that I'm an advisor and my colleague, I worked with Stephen the last 2 months. setting up our West Nile refugee-led network, and I was excited. We're having stories that we're going to come here. Now it's not here. So it doesn't make sense. But already, right now, we all heard from the plenary, over 300 refugees are here. Yes, a big number is not in the room, but from 70 to 300, we appreciate it. And we hope that that is sustained and increased. Of course, reporting, I can tell you the truth. RLOs, we have just been doing paperwork. All the time, reporting every month. What do we do? For you, you report every 3 months, every 6 months. Sometimes you even report after a year. For us, every month, like 22 days, you have to report. What are we doing? This has improved now. It has improved because some donors are now asking us, okay, you can report 3 months, which is better, instead of reporting on a monthly basis. What is not working? The short-term partnership is still there. You give us test and try. You try them, if they will not run away with the money. 3 months, what are we going to do with 3 months? Who can you hire a contract of 3 months, really? Let's be honest in this room. But you think, because it is a condition, you accept it or not, it's up to you. So we are left with no option but to take. This is still not working very well, for sure. We are not running away. We are registered illegally in these countries that are hosting us. So if the individual will go, the institution will remain. Please trust the institution. Don't trust the individuals. No? Trust the institution. They are well established and registered. What is again not working? Inadequate resources. You give us the whole work very nicely. Nowadays, what you design, you're becoming very clever. You design it very nicely. Tell the donor, oh, this will be led by the refugee-led organization. They will lead everything. And indeed, you give us the activity, but you hold back the administrative support, the vehicles. So as if it's you only who wants to move with the car. Now we no longer want to use the car, right? What is the problem? This is not working. Because if you are willing, let's share the administrative cost. By the way, capacity is the technical team that you recruit. Do we agree? And to get a technical person is the money you will pay that person. It connects back to Daniel's statement. You give us more money, but you expect us to have capacity. For you, you get the money, you hire the best lawyer in town, the best project manager in town, and you say you have capacity. Are you having capacity or you have more money? Let's agree, because we seem to just be, it's not that way. Let's just know that it is the money that you have that enables you to get the best consultant in town, the best software in town, best everything you need. Whereas for us, you give us a small thing and say, go and buy a Senke motorbike and move with it around. It doesn't help. You get it? Sorry for being very honest, but you need it, right? Connectivity is still another problem. We are in the settlement during the COVID. We saw these RLOs are settled in places where network is a problem. And this is still a challenge. While you think of supporting us, come along with those gadgets. A laptop, a camera, a Wi-Fi. Please, just bring those that you can donate in your office before we talk about the money. Bring it along. It's still a big issue in the settlement. Another thing is the negative attitude towards NGOs. We are being kept behind the curtain for sure because of this lengthy capacity strengthening. You want to give us 10,000, but you want to assess us, I don't know how many pages, the whole organization, only 10,000. What if you are going to give us 1 million? How big will the assessment be? Please, let's have a reasonable, institutional, systematic, a system-wide assessment that is aimed at building the organization, not a project-based assessment. Because you do this, I can tell you the truth, we are now fatigued. Today CARE is coming, assess you. Tomorrow Oxfam come, assess you. What if I just show you the assessment done by CARE? Can't you pick from there and just move on with it? It's the same INGO, but you don't trust them because you are doing, you know the secret? You are doing fault finding. You are not ready to partner with us. You have just come to see something, you run to your donor and say, you know what, these guys are weak in this, so we will still hold the money and build the capacity. How do you build our capacity for 5 years? And you cannot say, now Relon Kenya, they are now okay. At least they can move on. For 5 years. And then what are you doing? Ask yourself, are you building our capacity or are you making a curtain to keep us behind that? So that you continue receiving the money from the same donor. Yes? And then, of course, limited visibility. It's coming, but it's not coming very well. How many of you put on our t-shirts when you go for your meetings? A t-shirt with YSAD, Relon, Ayan. How many?
I do.
No. How many of us carry those heavy logos? How many of us here carry the heavy logos? Please, let's be honest. They are all over, is it? You see Cohere, Oxfam, almost ours is missing. Other donors will even say we want the front. Who is implementing? You want the front because you give the money, right? This is not fair, honestly. Some people will give you a good report, you go and just remove the heading, you put yourself, and then you send it to the headquarters. Done by Kanto. Can you acknowledge us? Just leave those logos there, done together with our partner XYZ. By the way, this trick of writing our abbreviation, these people don't know our abbreviation. Put our logos. We want our logos there. So that tomorrow when they see us, they say, oh yeah, I saw this somewhere. You just say, done by Cohere, together with, then now you write names. While your logo is up there. I'm using an example, okay? But this is not good, right? Acknowledge us, we will feel very happy. Another donor will know us. It's about trust building. When I come and talk to you now, and tomorrow there is a call released by you, and another refugee down there, who will you trust more? Us who have come and someone who has remained, who will you trust more? Us who have come, right? Because you've seen us. That's exactly the logo. Because you've seen the logo somewhere in a donor's report, it reminds you, okay? Please, let's have honest conversations about this. Also, the last one that I have, in meaningful refugee participation, we appreciate that we have advisories everywhere. We like it. But we are just numbers, honestly. We are just there so you can talk fancy, oh we have advisory, oh we have this. But what percentage of information that we give you that you take into account? It's a big thing, right? It's a big thing. We are there, we tell you, but you have already predetermined, you have even decided, you even know what to take. The moment we go against what you have decided already, we are becoming bad. Hey, these guys are hard to work with. If we endorse what you already decided, then this is a good board. I'm questioning what is the effectiveness of our board. Okay? So I have a few recommendations. Just streamline the communications. Don't bombard our emails as the EDs. Most communications to refugee-led organization, all you know is the director. Please, I keep saying this. If you are the finance, you want a report, send that email direct to our finance. When they will send you that report, they will keep us in copy. Something is wrong, you mentor the finance. Now you are mentoring EDs. Are you EDs finance? Every email, ED please report monthly. ED please finance report. ED please M&E. Why don't your M&E talk to our M&E, your finance to our finance, your director? When will your directors even talk to us, the directors? Your directors are nowhere. It's your field team intimidating us left, right, center. What is the problem? You know? Please, let's have a line communication. And visibility, I already talked about it, increasing. Work with the existing. This thing of forming too many. If you are in Kenya, there's a Relon Kenya is up there. Now you want to form another something of your organization you are working with. Why don't you work with Relon? When you leave, they will remain. Now when you form a project-based something, when you go, they collapse. Why? Let's work with it. Another one is the Charter for Change working group. They are in Kenya, they are in Uganda. The Charter for Change have 8 commitments asking all donors to make aid effective, right? Meaningful participation, make aid effective, money 25% go to local organizations. Don't form new ones, just work with the existing ones, okay? Promote RLO leadership, and this one we've already talked about it before. Please, when we suggest something, let the decision be made. In terms of funding, many people say we are working with 30 organizations. If you have 30 and you give 30,000, how much goes to one organization? Quickly, mathematics. 30,000 for 30 organizations. You see, this is a new trick in town now. You just get many, then you say, I'm giving them 100,000. We want you to be accountable, publish the figures that you're giving out so that we can track how much is going out, including Cohere. I would very much like to know how much is going out. I would say co-design programs with us. We know that you are experts, but we are the expert on ground. You are the expert in data. We agree. Data analysis also. But data collection and where that data come from, we are the ones. We are refugees just organized in terms of organization, but we are refugees ourselves. So when we are negotiating with you and telling you this is what works, you can't tell me I want to again go and confirm from. I am from the community. So I have told you, even if I work with an organization, I am a refugee, I know what we want. So thank you very much for listening. I hope we have a honest conversation, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. That was very precise and insightful. I shall now move to inviting our discussant, Maiwen. We have heard from different speakers all the kind of thematic works they do, from education, access to education, to livelihood, climate change, to peace building, and empowerment of women and girls, all of which are related to the main theme of meaningful refugee participation and, broadly speaking, localization. How would you connect the dots, and how would you like to help us in concluding and summarizing the discussion we have, of course, within the framework of meaningful refugee participation and localization? Now I'd like to invite you, Maiwen. Please take the floor.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much, Daniel. I think I wouldn't call it a conclusion because I think John has included the conclusion in a very concluded in a very good way. But I would try to basically summarize and pinpoint a few things that I think have been mentioned by our colleagues. Just before I go into the details, I introduce myself. Maiwen, I'm the co-founder of the Refugee Advocacy Network. I'm a refugee myself, based in Geneva. And the Refugee Advocacy Network is a refugee-led organization that is led by myself and other colleagues also, who are based in Geneva. I'm from South Sudan, originally from South Sudan. What is very important also in my background is that I also come from the humanitarian sector, right? So I have been in this sector. I work for organizations like MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières. I work for organizations like the UNHCR itself, almost 5 years, and ICRC. And at the same time now I work also at Geneva Call, which is an organization that engages non-state armed groups, and I'm the regional coordinator for the East Africa region. So this, more or less, while I'm talking about these things, I put myself on the two sides of the table. I'm on the side of the NGOs that John was talking about, which very, very bad, it's so bad that I'm also on this side, which is the side of the beneficiary. And that you can imagine that kind of contradiction that I face on a daily basis. But most importantly, because I come from South Sudan, the fact that the humanitarian sector for some people, for most of the people like us who come from countries that are affected by conflict, for us it's not just a profession. It is also about the lives of our people. So there is an element of, there's no way you can not make it a personal issue. No? When people talk about issues of participation, it's not just participation because it's an activity. It is participation because we really believe in that, no? Because it's something that really matters, and something that has very much impacted our lives. Going back to the point that you raised, Daniel, I mean, all these discussions, as much as we want to talk, we can talk for 10 years, it is about money. And I think we all recognize that, and everybody knows that. The question should now be, how can we just shift that money that exists somewhere from point 1 to point B? That's it. I think that should be the focus of our point. And one little thing that I want to, having worked for all these organizations and this nature of the conversation that we are having now as Aralow's movement, let's be honest, it has been going on for a long time, long before the Aralow's movement even came to being. All these aspects of participation, when you talk about issues of participation, there are a lot of concepts that exist today, accountability to affected populations, all these aspects of the nexus that people are making a lot of noise about, how to link humanitarian aid to development, to peace building and sustainability. Even aspects of sustainability, these are not new things, these are things that have existed for a long time. I think the first question that we should ask ourselves as Aralow movement, people who are involved and interested in the Aralow movement, is why is that all this time it didn't happen? All this time we have been talking for almost 50 years in the history of the NGOs sector as we know it today, why it hasn't been successful? Or if it has succeeded, what would be the percentage of success? I think this is the number one part that we have to reflect on, because it's very important. We can have as much as we want in terms of aspirations, but the reality will remain as it is if we want it or not. And what will happen is that all of us in 10 years we will get old, and we are done and we are busy with other things, and probably, for me, for example, I become Swiss, and that's it. I am busy with other things, and then the next generation will come in and we'll talk exactly about the same thing with new names. And that's what has been happening. All these aspects of participation, it has just been rebranded, and we have been talking about it for like 50 years, literally. So, one thing that I want to invite us as RLOs and organizations that are involved, I mean, I know CORE here is not necessarily an RLO, but we give you really the title of RLOs because I think the way you think is very much like us, you know?
Yeah.
It's really to move away from this small mindset of people who want to complain. We really want to move to a stage of people who think strategic. Let's look at the history of humanitarianism and let's see what is it that we are learning from it, and then let's see strategically how we can communicate. So, one thing that you just mentioned, why would you expect YAL to have organizations like Save the Children, for example, handing over all these resources to you? Because that's what it means is that they just give power, and power has never been given like this, never in the history.
Yeah.
Just take the history of the NGOs themselves. It took them a long time, even to be recognized by the UNHCR, by the way, for them to be what it is today, the partnership that we see. It wasn't very easy. They have been fighting, I can tell you, for 6 years. And until now, they are still fighting. So, are we ready to go through this process for 50 years and fight, or do we want to be strategic and achieve our objectives in a very reasonable time? The reason why I'm saying that is that one thing. When people talk about shifting power, where does the discussion happen? I think that's the number one discussion that we need to have. Does it really happen in Nairobi? Does it happen in Kampala? Or does it happen here?
Yes.
That's the number one question. Because I was in one of the meetings like 2-3 weeks ago, and because I happened to be one of the elite refugees that happened to be lucky that found himself in Geneva, I was able to attend this meeting. But you know what? People are talking about localization, but I don't see any local organization. Forget about RLOs. I'm not even seeing a local organization. How the hell on earth, I'm sorry for my French, would you expect someone who is supposed to hand over power to be the one responsible for discussing localization? That's insane to think about. Now, but this is to be realistic as well. Local organizations cannot have offices in Geneva. That's the reality. That's why I think we have to think in a different way. What we need to do is two things. We need to increase the discussions about localization so that power can move to the global south, where actually most of the refugees and the beneficiaries of humanitarian aid are found. But we also want to have voices here in Geneva, in Brussels, in Berlin, in New York, in Washington, in all the places where decisions are made, and those people have to continue crying on the faces of the people who give money. I think that's the number one priority. And we need to be very strategic on where we need to discuss this. We can discuss this here. For me, I think it's more of a conversation because we are all like-minded people. But what we want to do is to have this kind of discussions here. Here, like when I say here, I'm talking about UNHCR, I'm talking about the groupings where you have all the donors sitting in one place. This is one thing, and this is what the Refugee Advocacy Network is really interested in. How can we be part of these discussions so that we are sure that whatever that is being discussed on localization, we are on the table. Not only on the table just to discuss, but on the table to make decisions. And we don't want to be really cosmetic participants. This is the number one. The number two is on the pledges. Whenever we make pledges, we really need to be able to quantify things. We need to be able to know in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, how much of resources have to move. It's not only like discussions in terms of quality, but we have to talk about quantities as well. Now that we are talking about this, we are talking about a vehicle. We need to know like how many vehicles will be handed over next year. Where if we know how many vehicles exist in the humanitarian sector, these are all in inventories. We need to know how many vehicles are handed over to local organizations, including RLOs in this case. And these discussions have to move a bit more to qualitative, to a more qualitative level. Really not being very generic, we need to be very specific on what is it that we need to achieve. And you guys know it much better. When you are in Kakuma, you know how many vehicles, all the humanitarian vehicles that are moving around. And you know what? These taxes that are being paid, we are also paying. We are also refugees. I pay my taxes here, and some of my taxes also go there. So we have, it's not only a responsibility, we really have, we are part of the process of the funding that goes there. We also contribute as refugees. Mokonan is also with me here. We all pay our taxes here, and definitely our taxes I want to know where one of my cents, how does it end up in a Kakuma camp or in a camp in Venezuela? That's what interests me. I think this is a very important thing. So moving to a more qualitative discussion. What I also want to add is that we definitely need to be, the way we think also as RLOs, I think if we know very well, I know the RLOs are a very small movement, but we need to think beyond little money. We really need to think, I have respect for organizations like Cohere, other organizations like there was Asylum Access, I think. Organizations that have created some sort of envelopes, and they were created for that. They were created in a way that makes sure that the money goes to the people that deserve it. These organizations have to think about bigger money. And I'm saying this, and I think this is a discussion that we need to have. Why is it that Cohere has this kind of amazing ideas when I was talking to Poland, but then you look at the envelope that they have is probably less than $1 million. Why? That's the question. Why would Asylum Access, for example, organizations like Asylum Access, or whatever that we agree on as RLOs, why is it that they are always underfunded? That's the question. Because I doubt people like Mokonnen or myself, we are the ones also working for the big organizations where, Mokonnen was also working in big organizations before, where we have been handling big money. What is it that shifts when it comes to Cohere, that he doesn't have that expertise to manage this big money? I work for Geneva Court, for example, in a project where I'm managing $3.5 million. What is it that shifts when I come to Refugee Advocacy Network that I would not be able to manage $3.5 million? That's the question, that's the point that we need to discuss. And in this, because there are no justifications, and I know very well, we need to make sure that we talk about big money. We need to talk about consortiums. All these small organizations, all these small RLOs, let's think about consortiums.
Yeah.
And I think these are things that have been done in other contexts. And I have been part of these discussions where even big organizations like Save the Children, Mercy Corps, they have also created consortium and they ask for big money from donors. I think we can do that, and I think this is how we need to think. This is very important because it will help us with the sustainability, with the way we move forward on how we manage money, we create sustainability, and then how we grow and manage the expertise. I think that's what I would love to add. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Very helpful. I think it's time now to open the floor for questions and comments. I realize that we are